So this is a rare opportunity to come behind the scenes into a coaching program of mine for free and see what it's actually like, powerful coaching in action. And this is something I've actually never done before. But the people who I coached, they gave me permission generously to share what we did with you. So I coached them on some things that we can all relate to: wanting to make a bigger impact, overcoming their fears, becoming the kind of leader who is unfuckwithable, getting deeper clarity, creating a more inspiring relationship, and just generally achieving their goals. Not only are there powerful insights inside of this coaching, but there's actually specific tools that you can use right now. And in order to really get the most of this, I would suggest stop multitasking, get really present, listen deeply, and let it sink in. Now, I'm sharing this today for a few reasons. The first is it's just powerful and valuable, and I want you to get the most out of it. These are the same ideas that have taken me from a life that was successful, but where I felt unfulfilled, anxious, insecure, to creating life on my own terms, developing a real rock-solid relationship with myself, and living a life where it feels like this is the exact life I'm meant to live. And I want you to benefit from these ideas. I want you to apply them. And so I'm sharing them completely free. Even if we never work together, take this stuff, run with it, use it. It will change your life. The second reason I'm sharing this is most people have no idea what it is that I actually do. They hear that I'm a life coach and I talk about amazing results that my clients get. My clients talk about amazing results that they get. But what actually happens in a coaching session? And the third reason I'm sharing this is I'm promoting a new program called Unleashed. And Unleashed is a 5-month growth accelerating process that's designed to help you get to the edge of your potential and jump over it and transform into the person who's capable of bringing your goals to life, no matter what area those goals are in. Whether they're health goals, career goals, relationship goals, impact goals, lifestyle goals, finance goals, fun goals, whatever they are, you need to transform into a new person who's capable of making those goals a reality instead of trying to make them a reality from your current self. So Unleashed is designed to help you shatter your limits, step into more freedom, more success, and I wanted to give you guys an experience of what it's like to work with me. So I'm going to share more about Unleashed and how you can work with me at the end of the session today. But even if you don't, stay for the coaching. Get the goods here. There's valuable stuff. Let me give you a little bit of context and then we're going to jump right into the coaching. So what you're about to watch actually came from one of my programs. And what I love to do in my work is figure out how can I astonish my clients? Not just satisfy them or make them feel like they're happy they worked with me. How can I actually astonish them? And so on Friday, this one that just passed, I jumped into the group in the morning and said, hey guys, is there anyone who'd like support today? I'll create time in my calendar. And pretty much everyone said no, except for 2 people. And those are the 2 people you're going to see today. Now, I've worked with both of these people privately, separately, for about a year. One of them more than a year, one of them a little bit less. But the first person I worked with, his name is Nathan. And the dude is a huge-hearted musician, an amazing guy. Big fan of Nathan. And in the work that we've done together, Nathan has really deepened his self-acceptance, learned how to navigate his emotions much better. He's developed a daily meditation practice. He's exercising daily. He's dropped 20 to 25 pounds already. He still has momentum going in that direction. Nathan's now has more control in his career. He's more audacious, taking bolder action. Relationships feel easier to him. And he just generally feels more alive, lighter. Things aren't so serious. These aren't my words. I gathered some of the feedback that Nathan gave me about the work we did together, and I just made a list here to share. These are Nathan's words about our work. And he came to this session because he's desiring to make more of an impact, and he's kind of feeling stuck. So you'll watch in the session as he uncovers this really powerful insight that gives him the clarity to accelerate the impact that he's desiring to make. The second person I worked with, her name is Youre, and you'll meet her in a minute. And she's a powerful, sought-after brand consultant, highly successful, just like Nathan. These aren't people who need coaching. These are people who are powerful, and they want more. They want to be more fulfilled, have more fun, really feel like this is the exact life they're meant to live. And so the work that I've done with Youre up to this point has resulted in her feeling a stronger connection to herself, to her path in life, being more comfortable with who she is, and that positively affecting her relationships. She's more supportive, more open, more fun now, has more clarity and more confidence, and she's found the courage and clarity inside of herself to dive into a completely new career, and then a way to merge her new career with her old career so she can create exponential success in a way that's exciting. So she came to the session today feeling, or the session on Friday rather, feeling some financial fear. She recently supported her husband in quitting his job, which was a dream of his, and she stepped up big, and now she has some fears around finances that you'll see come up in the session. And you're going to learn and you're going to see the specific tools that I gave her to overcome her fear, to rewire her nervous system, and to be able to lead with love. So with no further ado, let's jump in. Yo!
Hi, Yana.
Hi, Yana. What about Jacob? The fuck? I'm messing with you. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I got new headphones, so I'm glad that we're rocking and rolling over here.
Hi.
Time. Who is pressed for time? Who wants to go first?
I'm not super pressed for time if you are, Nathan.
Yeah, I don't think I'm pressed for time, but I am at work, so I could get called away. So I probably better go first.
Great. Let's do it. So give me a check-in before we dive in. How are you feeling? Are you scale of 1 to 10? How present are you?
I'm feeling pretty good. Scale of 1 to 10, I would say I'm 8.5 present.
Amazing. I'd say I'm also 8.5 present, although my cat is starting to distract me, so that's now closer to a 6. I think he's going to come over here and join the conversation. In 3, 2, 1. There he is. All right. Nathan, where can we go that will be helpful for you today?
Well, so I think I have two things that I'm sure are all related. Maybe there's 3 things, but here's what I thought of. So in the Pulse survey thing, so in the section about impact and contribution, when I filled that out, I was feeling on the low side, and then after I sent it to you, I felt better. But then when I read what I had written while I filled that out, I was sort of already back in that sort of lower place. So I guess what I'm getting at is so that is the first concern. Mostly like trying to figure out like how to believe or trust or move toward feeling like my work has impact, like it is a contribution. We've had a session around that in the past, and but it has been a thing that has come up for me, not exactly regularly, but often. So that, and then I've also, at exactly the same moment, I'm trying to stretch myself to be more audacious. So like, I'm really into this idea of like 10x your thinking and the moonshot thing that I posted yesterday. But I feel a little murky about like, okay, great, but how do I do it? And what does that mean? And how do I get started doing that? And I sort of already know that the answer is to just let it happen and see where it goes. But I still sort of want to know, how do I do it? Is that enough to go on to start with?
I mean, hello is enough to go on. That's more than enough. So great. And excuse any cat action happening here. When you elevated your consciousness and your perspective shifted about the impact, what were you seeing from that vantage point that perhaps you weren't initially seeing or may not be seeing in this moment?
You mean like what tangible things, or like something I could put my finger on, or like?
Yeah, it sounded like your perspective changed at some point about your relationship to impact.
Yeah, it changes, from moment to moment. So I'm not exactly sure what you're asking me. So
Yeah,
like,
maybe I didn't understand it properly. So let me repeat back to you what I heard. Initially filling out the pulse survey, you felt a little bit down as far as where you were on a scale of 1 to 10 for impact. Then it sounded like, or what I interpreted was that at some point in the future, your days, week, or whatever it was later, your view on that kind of changed, or you felt better about that. And
mm-hmm.
now you're feeling lower about that. So I'm wondering, when you were feeling better, if that is accurate, what was happening then? How are you seeing things then that maybe you weren't initially seeing them as?
So for sure it was different. And then to describe it is a challenge right at the moment. So let me sit with that for a second.
Take your time.
So I think in these exact instances, like between the pulse survey and like hearing back from you about the pulse survey, like in that 3 segment time frame, I had some exchanges with like this one longtime student of mine who still is a student, and he's pretty advanced, and in fact is he's the best saxophone student I've ever had, and we're pretty close. And he comes over to our house fairly regularly. He's a college student, so his schedule and his management of his schedule is a little erratic, but we try to get together pretty regularly. Anyway, I think the last time that we got together, it was really clear, the kind of impact that, that my work with him, but also the work I'm doing that doesn't directly include him, that was definitely more clear about the value, or whether it's making a difference, whether anybody gives a shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. So that's like the thing that I get tangled up in. Yeah, that's what I get tangled up in. Is those feelings of like, I get dragged down by the feelings of this doesn't make a difference. Why should I bother 10xing my effort on this? So I have moments where I feel like that, and then I also have moments where I feel like, oh, it is really reaching people, and that's why I should 10x my efforts, because I could 100x the people I reach.
Yeah. So this is great. And, I can relate to what you're saying. Like, I have moments when I'm like, oh my God, I'm crushing it. This is so good. Like, oh
Yeah.
my God, like what I'm doing is so needed in the world. And then I have moments where I'm like, does anyone give a shit? Am I just screaming and nobody's listening? And the louder I scream, the more they don't want to hear me. Like, it happens.
Yeah.
But I'm enrolling my new program now. And the last week, the first 4 people I spoke to immediately signed up right away. And I offered it to them, and they were great fits, and they all signed up within 24 hours. And I'm like, there's 12 spots in the program. I'm like, oh my God, I'm crushing this. We had 80 people reply within 24 hours saying they were interested. I was like, we hit this one out of the park. I'm so good at what I do, right? Wasn't exactly saying that, but I had that feeling.
Yeah.
This week, I didn't sign anyone up. I'm like, how do I get people on the phone with me? Where are the good fits? What happened to all like these 100+ people that replied they were interested? Where did they go? What the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I was in yoga today, and because I'm in warrior mode right now, we spoke about this on our last coaching session, is instead of going for your goal, go for becoming the person who's capable of achieving your goal. You don't need to know exactly what your goal looks like, but you have a feeling, I want to 10x. Great. Who's the version of Nathan that plays in the 10x realm? That's the moment to moment work, is to become that dude. So I'm in yoga today, and one of my, normally, like when I've done yoga in the last 8 years of my life, sparsely, if that's a word, or like rarely, I always consider myself to not be a yogi identity, right? Like, I'm not a person who does yoga, right? But it's like, I've been doing it 8 years, a little bit, right? So I'm like, it's maybe I should stop telling that story of I'm not a yogi and just fucking show up and do yoga. And so now when I go to do yoga, what I actually tell myself, instead of, oh, it burns, oh, that's a hard position, oh, I hope she changes the position, I say something along the lines of, I hope she keeps us in the burn as long as possible, because the burn is where I actually grow. If I'm not burning, I'm not growing. I want the challenge. Don't move when it's hurting. Like, I'm like, don't fucking move this pose. That's what I tell her telepathically in my head. You better not fucking change it. When previously my identity was like, oh my God, how quickly can this be over?
Yeah.
Now
Get
I'm
me
like,
out of here. Yeah.
get me out of here. I'm like, you better fucking leave this. And when you tell us to leave it, I'm staying in it an extra 3 seconds, because I want the burn, because that's how I grow. So this is just for me today. I said, what if that applied to my program also? What if, okay, it was easy the first week, and I was like, oh, this is so great, everything's working my way. But now that this second week it's more challenging, this is where the actual growth happens. So instead of feeling bad for myself, like, oh, why isn't it happening sooner? Does this mean I should cancel the all these kind of thoughts, just put that away. And it's like, great. Now is when it feels challenging. This is the best time. I want it to be challenging because this is where I grow the most. So let me just pause and just see if that lands with you at all. I have another place I want to take it, but I do want to just take a moment to check in.
Yeah, right up until the very end, I was like, yeah, okay, yeah. And then just before you asked my opinion, it shifted for me. And it was like, well, this is how you find out how things make an impact. This is you have to come from a place of impact. So I have to do something that's going to make an impact on me. It was just in that split second that it switched too. Because like before that, I was like, yeah, I've heard all of this last week. It's so ridiculous, but that shift is it's pretty. There's a big space in there, and there's a lot to. There's a big new place to inhabit.
And what I just heard you do intuitively, maybe you were conscious, maybe you just knew it intuitively, is that you went from external things that you couldn't control, which is what happens to other people. You can't control that. And you brought it internally and you said, what I can control is me impacting myself. And that's the path.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's fucking deep. And I feel like I just stepped in it, you know? Yeah, that feels really significant. I'm really curious about where else you were thinking of going.
Sure. One is, let me just acknowledge your open-mindedness here, your willingness to step up and ask for support and take the time out of the busyness to go deeper in. I acknowledge that and appreciate that. The other place, there's a new metaphor I've been working, and the metaphor is, like all thoughts aren't trustable. So we're all going to have thoughts of doubt, and the problem is not having thoughts of doubt. The problem is believing those thoughts of doubt or overreacting when they come up as if it's a bad thing and shouldn't be happening. So like the metaphor that has been working for me lately is imagine if there is, a homeless guy on the street and this dude was like super smelly, clothes had holes in them, hadn't got a haircut in, 3 years, super scruffy, whatever. And the guy comes up to you and he's like, hey, you. He's like, you stink, right? And he just said that to you. So super smelly dude comes up to you and he's like, yo, dude, you stink. Imagine if you believed him and took that personally. What would you do? You would then be like, oh my God, I stink. There's something wrong with me. I should go do something. And so you would go and maybe you would take a shower. And then you took a shower, you cleaned up, you thought you were clean, but you came back and the dude, you think you're better. The dude comes back up to you again. He's like, dude, you still stink. And you're like, fuck, I just took a shower. I still stink. What the hell? So you go take another shower. You come back, the guy comes back up to you again. He's like, man, didn't I tell you you stink? And at this point you're like, I've tried everything, I've taken a shower, I've changed my clothing. No matter what I do, I just can't stop stinking. I'm just going to give up on this cleanliness thing because it's hopeless. I should just stop. That's what it's like to believe our thoughts. It's like the homeless guy is our thoughts. We're just giving power to him. And when we can just be like, all right, homeless guy, like, whatever, you're going to be there. You're going to say some stuff. Is irrelevant. It doesn't really matter. I have compassion for you. And I'm not going to believe you because I know this is not helpful to believe you. That's what it's like to battle thoughts of self-doubt or thoughts of not being good enough. They're going to tell you you're not good enough. They're going to try to convince you. And our work in our own inner mastery is just recognizing this thought is untrustable. If I believe this thought, that's going to lead me to a disempowering place. And I'm just going to train myself to notice when it comes up, recognize I'm probably in a lower state of consciousness, do whatever I need to do to not give it power, take care of myself. And I'm navigating that all the time, Nathan. You know, so I wanted to offer that metaphor because you're having thoughts. We all have thoughts, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it seems right. And you know, just saying it out loud changes my perspective about it too. Like having to say to you that, you know, how those thoughts are shaped just makes them change shape, change into something else, or is enough for me to see how untrustworthy they are. So, yeah.
All right, dude. I think we're there.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right. I'm
Thank
proud
you.
of you, man. Yeah, you're welcome. Go make an impact on yourself.
Yeah.
Cool. And right now is an example of you doing that. You stepped up and figured, how do I impact myself? And here we are. We had this conversation. So thanks, Nathan.
Yeah, thank you.
So we're going to jump into the next coaching session in a second. Before we do, I wanted to share an update that Nathan recorded later that day in our private group, and he gave me permission again to share this with you guys. Here we go.
Hey everybody, it's Nathan shooting a quick video in the dark, parked in a car wash that's closed. I'm on my way home from a concert that I just played, and I wanted to share this video because, man, my heart is really, really full. I had the coaching call today with Jacob, and we were working around figuring out ways to increase my impact and contribution, and ways to flip how I assess that. And so I've been thinking about that a lot since our call this afternoon. And I was able to put it into practice right away, and I'm really fucking excited about it. Because I was able to discover that the impact really has to come from me, that I have to come from somewhere rather than try to get to somewhere. And I felt that in such a tangible way during the coaching call, but then especially tonight as I was playing, I felt super connected. It's the best performance that I've had in a long time. And I feel like the gate is open in a way that it hasn't been. Like I was able to access the gift that I want to share with the audience. So a little hard for me to put it in words, but I am my heart is super full, and like I have all this love that I wanted to, that I succeeded in giving to the audience and to my bandmates, and so I have a little bit left, so I want to give it to all of you. Thank you so much. I love you all.
Now let's go to you. What's going on in your world? How can I help you?
All right, two quick things first. One, I said on Wednesday that I was going to write an article on HIIT training for the soul. And the conversation you guys just had was so reflective of what I wrote on that topic yesterday. So I'll have to finish that up and share it. And also, Jacob, I had a fucking cold shower yesterday.
What?
It was terrible.
Yes. Here's the secret. You just have to say in the shower, I want it colder. No matter how cold it is, you just need to say, I want it colder.
I did it as cold as I could, and I counted to 30, and then I was like, all right, that's good.
Nice. That's awesome.
But it was good. It felt fucking amazing as soon as it was done.
Why did you decide to do that?
Oh, it was just, I was in the shower and I was a little in my head, and I remembered you getting so excited about your 10-minute. I was like, I wonder if I could do like 10 seconds. So I just, cranked it down, and there it was. Oh, it's good.
I hope it's okay if I jump in. I started doing them also. Started again a couple days ago, and today I had it set on coldest.
Woo!
And yeah, we got like 20 inches of snow over the last weekend, so it's still pretty cold here. But when I was doing them really regularly, it didn't take very long. It got to the point where like I would, before I even turned the shower on, like my body would just sort of anticipate it, like, oh, this is gonna be cool. Like that little shift, like, oh, I'm kind of excited for, I know what's gonna happen now. And then like that anticipation kicks in after a few days.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting too.
I'm pumped to hear you guys are doing it.
There's this amazing like Nordic style spa here outside in the mountains. It's so beautiful. And they have sort of the whole philosophy of hot, cold rest, hot, cold rest. And some of the cold sections in there are like real, like basically ice plunges. But it's always been my favorite part of that experience to like stand in a sauna until you can't stand it and then go plunge in the ice and just like, yeah, you really, really feel your circulatory system kick in. So it was a bit like that.
Yeah, I don't have as fond memories of being in a spa with that kind of treatment, but nonetheless. So thanks for the update. Love it. How can we make the most of our time today? How can I support you?
So as I mentioned, Lucas quit his job yesterday. And Jacob, you and I have spoken enough about money for you to know that I'm on one hand like super stoked for him, and I really see and recognize that that's what he needs to do to move into the next place and thing, and I trust he's going to do that. And it's like my heart and my gut are 100% on board, but my head is so fucking scared about the like just logistics of the financial side of it. That I can feel that I'm not, the love I'm feeling in the other parts of my body aren't what's always coming across to him. And I want his interpretation of where I'm at with this to really be what my heart and my gut feel, and not this like fear that I have around the uncertainty. But I can just feel in my communication that like I'm saying the right stuff, but it doesn't feel 100% like I'm speaking it from those parts of my bodies that really feel that. And I want to do better than that for him. I want to be able to let go of the uncertainty and the fear and be able to really approach it for him and approach the whole situation as I'm feeling it and not as I'm thinking it.
What are you feeling now?
Frustration.
In this moment?
Yeah, I mean, just in articulating in the whole situation, because I can see it, I can understand it, but I'm not able to overcome or change it.
Up until now?
Up until now.
Have you communicated with him what you just communicated with me?
Yes.
So you've told him, in my heart and in my gut, I'm so on board for you leaving your job, stepping into this dream and vision that you have. And I also have a part of my head that kicks in and creates this fear-based scenario that we're in danger or will be in danger. And I just want you to know that the deepest part of me is so proud of you and on board for you to be doing this. And anytime that I communicate from a place where you don't feel that, it's just because fear has the best of me in that moment.
Yeah, I have said that, but because that fear's there, it's almost like it feels like lip service.
Well, so pause. So what I just said, you communicated that, and that wasn't lip service, right?
Right.
Okay. So, because what you're doing is you're alerting him to the fact that you're giving yourself permission, basically. So like, I'm going to have moments when I'm in fear, and I want you to know that when I'm being a crazy lunatic, you're not being a crazy lunatic, but when it feels like that, right? That, that the truest part of me is so on board, and this is just my own shit that's coming up. So that's not lip service, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And he knows that.
Yeah,
So
I have said that.
So now you're essentially giving yourself permission for your fear to come up, which is totally okay. There's nothing wrong. It's probably there to even serve you in some way. And now let's talk about how do we work with that. So now this is not about Lucas. This is about you.
Mm-hmm.
You can take that ownership and control back inwardly, and we can say, not only is this one of the greatest developmental edges for your husband, this is one of the greatest developmental edges for yourself, this journey. And so it's not like he's just the one who's going to get the growth here. So are you. Let's figure out how to give you the gift of the growth that's available to you.
Possibly me more than him. He's totally fine.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So give me an example of when this comes up for you, maybe a specific one. Take me into the details of the thought that you have, how that affects your feelings, what then happens when you feel that way, how you act.
So we were a little late on taxes this year, and we did them a couple days ago, like right on deadline. And Lucas just kind of, it's like he doesn't buy into money. So because of that, he has what to me sometimes feels like a frustrating, just like doesn't give a shit. But it doesn't change that we have finances and a family to look after and a whole bunch of, mortgages and insurances and all that fun stuff that I don't enjoy either. But I kind of, it's in the, no fucking choice adulting kind of category where I feel like we have to have a certain level of responsibility within that stuff. So we were doing taxes the other day, and it was the day before he was planning on quitting. And I didn't know that he'd withdrawn money from his RRSPs, which are his. It really wasn't a big deal. It was like a few $100, but I had this overwhelming just sense of like, I know that that's irresponsible financial management to have found $300 there when there were so many other places that should have and could have come from. And that I hadn't known about it just gave me this huge like fear of trusting him to manage responsibly the finances now that the earnings all mine. And I think I articulated to him that I feel a fear that there's going to be a struggle there. And it was like I didn't trust him in my brain. And then that really kind of took over the trust that I was feeling intuitively in the whole situation, as a really specific example. So then like I couldn't sleep that night. I was just so scared about, all of the what ifs of, maybe we don't have enough, and maybe he won't even notice that we have enough. And then I just kind of spiraled into this thing that I don't normally do. But that was so strong that then it felt hard energetically to to come more from the heart place. And that's really where I want to be able to come from as he's doing this.
So, do you know that you're a fucking warrior?
Yeah.
Like, do you really know that, like, you've gone through like crazy ass situations in life? Like, you've navigated incredibly complex and challenging emotional, mental, physical situations, spiritual situations, and you've come out on top every time in the long run?
I do know that, but I lose sight of it pretty quickly, I think.
I don't think you lose sight of it pretty quickly. I think you've had intense, understandable moments where things are challenging and you might lose sight of it for a day or an hour or even a week. But I think as a whole, you're a pretty confident person and you know that you're going to be able to handle whatever happens.
That's true.
So I can coach you on the tactical stuff here, but just zooming out, you're the type of person who can handle whatever happens. And this surely isn't going to be the hardest thing that you've gone through. And who you are now and the level of consciousness you have now is so much higher than it's ever been before. The support that you have available to you, your own inner support and resources, this is perhaps the greatest opportunity you can have because there's such a developmental opportunity for you here. And you are so well resourced to step into this right now.
Thank you. So tactically.
Now what?
I don't want the conversation with him to be one of me always saying, in my heart and my gut, I feel this, but I'm in fear now. And then that's what I'm speaking to.
And what if you don't speak to it? What if you don't put it on him to make you okay in that moment?
I need a little help figuring that bit out. I mean, the other night I just kind of breathed into it and told myself we'd be okay and it was fine. But I definitely, I feel with this more than with other things, with this financial piece, that I really want to have the control and the certainty that I suddenly don't have right now.
And what do the finances represent to you?
Security.
What does security do for you?
I think it's freedom and security. What does it do for me? It makes me feel safe, obviously, but it also makes me feel the sense of gratitude and wonder and possibility that comes with knowing we have that.
I love money. I love buying nice things, taking nice trips, being able to pay my rent, being able to feed my kids, aka cats. So I get it. I don't want to talk you into being a monk here, renouncing your possessions, etc. And I believe that you're inspired to master yourself at a really high level. And because I believe that's the game you want to play, we need to be aware that you're looking for something externally that can only come sustainably internally, which is safety, security, freedom, right? Viktor Frankl, the dude in the Holocaust, psychologist in the Holocaust, like watched his whole family, watched every single person get burned, killed in the most inhumane ways possible. And he taught us that freedom, real freedom, exists in between stimulus and response, in between what's happening and how you respond to what's happening. And even when the control is taken away from you, you're in a fucking concentration camp, your family is being murdered, everyone you know is being slaughtered, that you still have freedom to choose how you're going to interpret the situation. And when you put meaning, when you have a why, when you have a vision or a meaning behind it, this is what can get you through the toughest of times. He had a vision that if he made it out, when he made it out, he would go on to document his experience, how it relates to his branch of psychology, and go on to help as many people as he could. So one is, you're not living in a Holocaust, which is why every day is another day in heaven, for me, for you, for Nathan, for everyone. Mm-hmm. The other thing is, we can learn from that. You have control. It's just not control externally. It's control internally. And the reality is that if you need to shuffle some shit around financially, you'll figure it out. We'll still go to tactical stuff, but I'm starting on identity with you and now mindset.
Yes. And we will, of course we will. I mean, worst case scenario is like we sell our house that's worth a fair amount of equity and move in with his mom and this beautiful farm property. Like I intellectually, I know that. So I don't know why it's so hard to just have that feel okay.
So let's talk about it.
Okay.
So to make things super clear, let's talk a little bit about the brain. So we have one model of our brain that neuroscientists will use is, they'll say we'll have two brains, and one is the thinking brain and the other is the animal brain. And the thinking brain is on top, and the animal brain is underneath. The problem with a lot of work that we do around our beliefs and our mindset, like you're like, I fucking know what you're talking about, Jacob, but it doesn't make it easier in those moments, is because it's the thinking brain that knows the mindset stuff. It's the animal brain that is taking control of you. And so we need to work with both. We need to work with the thinking brain and the animal brain. The animal brain is responsible for your feeling of safety. It's your amygdala is what's part of your animal brain. That's what's responsible for fight or flight or freeze. And that's what we feel when we have fear. It's fight or flight, sometimes freeze. And what we need to do is we need to learn to regulate our nervous system and be able to come back to a place of safety and equilibrium in that animal brain, because no beliefs are going to be able to take care of that part. Okay, still with me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So the first thing that you want to do in those moments is just check in with yourself and say, on a scale of 1 to 10, first you just check in with yourself and say, what am I feeling? And I think we spoke about this in our last coaching session. The quicker your mind is going, the more of an alert that should be that there's something that you're avoiding feeling. Right? The faster your mind is going, the more you're avoiding feeling something. Mm-hmm. So you use that as an alert. Oh shit, my mind's going really quickly. Boom, I must not be feeling something. Take a few deep breaths. What am I feeling? Let's say you're feeling unsafe. Let's say that's the thing that comes up for you. On a scale of 1 to 10, how intense is the feeling of being unsafe? That's what you ask yourself. Great, it's a 7. Anything more than a 4 or a 5 means that your nervous system is dysregulated. So you're out of whack. Your thoughts are untrustable. If you take action based on your thoughts, when you're over a 4 or 5 in a triggered space, you're going to ruin your life. I promise. It's a guaranteed method. You keep doing that enough times, your life is going to be horrible. It's not even an exaggeration. Like, I fucking swear to God, you will ruin your life if you keep doing that. So, and we all do that to some extent up until now. And what we want to do is become super conscious of, where is my nervous system? How can I create a deep grounded safety inside of myself? And the way that you do that is you take a time out and you go do some breathing. And you may say, it's inappropriate for me to take a time out right now. I'm out at dinner and I'm with, Lucas and another couple, and I'm suddenly so triggered, I can't do a breathing right now. It's like, yes, you can. You can go to the bathroom. You can excuse yourself. Same way, like if you had a child, you do have a child, and your child was crying at the table, you wouldn't just ignore your child. I know, right? You would figure out, this child has an unmet need. Excuse me, guys, let me take the child out. Let me go help the child. You have a child inside of yourself. And when you feel triggered, that's what's happening. Your inner child is unsafe. It's crying. Your thoughts are going nuts. So go to the bathroom and do at least a minute, preferably a bit more, of breathing. And that's just as simple as breathing in for 4, breathing out for 6. And even if you just do that in a minute, that's going to significantly help calibrate your nervous system, reduce your trigger, help you regulate your nervous system, and bring you back to a higher feeling of safety inside of yourself. Then I would check in again and say, okay, where am I now? Scale of 1 to 10. And again, if you're at a 4 or 5 or more on a feeling of unsafe, it means that the homeless person is talking to you. So you can choose to have the conversation with the homeless guy. Like, nah, like I took a shower today. Like, you don't know me, man. But like the homeless guy, like, I don't give a shit. You still stink. And he's like, you don't know what you're talking about, man. Right? And you can go back and forth with the homeless guy, but that's not going to get you where you want to go. So It's like, hey, homeless guy, I appreciate you. I wish you the best. I acknowledge that. And really, the homeless guy is just a signal that you still don't feel safe. You feel more safe now than you did a few minutes ago. Now is not the time to be thinking about solving the problem. Now is the time to be working on regulating your nervous system. So what else can you do? Go for a run, do some yoga, sleep. I mean, it might be hard to sleep, but see if you can take a nap, eat some food, hydration, pause. And you can even tell yourself, I'll come back to this when my nervous system is regulated. I'll come back to this in 12 hours. I'll come back to this tomorrow. Something so that you're still going to address this, but you're going to do it from a higher state of consciousness where you're not creating more of the problem. If you act from fear, you're going to create more fear scenario in your life. So I have more to say, but let me pause and just check in with you. Does this feel useful? Does it land?
Yeah,
Where are you?
definitely. Yeah.
Okay. We should invite the homeless guy to our retreat coming up.
I like the homeless guy. Except that as you're talking about it, it's interesting because I've turned the homeless guy into like the homeless me. Like it's me, but I'm all like fucking haggard and like out of control. Yeah.
I love it. So use that imagery. That's great. On our retreat, we should all dress up as homeless versions of ourselves and just get all of our like worst fears out.
Yeah.
We'll see where I go with that. Shelf that for now. Come back to your immediate situation. So great. So step 1 is, just like with Nathan, come from the place you want to get to. Right? So Nathan wants to make more impact. How does he make that impact on himself? You want to feel more, you want more safety. How do you come from a place of safety and take action to make yourself feel safe now instead of trying to control things externally? And I know part of the homeless you is going to be like, the way you do that is by telling him he shouldn't be doing that. That's not true. You got to watch out for that. You can address that, and I want to talk to you about that now, but you're asking me, how do I make it so it's not just lip service? This is how. You only have a conversation about this when your nervous system is regulated. Cool?
Yes. Thank you. Very cool.
Okay, great. Next up. You're married. You love your husband. He's amazing. I know that. You know that. You're fucking super proud of him. I know that. You know that. You want the best for him. We can all agree on this. And when you found out that he took some money from some place without you knowing, this thing happened, and it hit a wound of yours or a trigger. We all have a lot of baggage around money collectively as a society. There's so much belief of scarcity that, it comes up for us. And we also have individual experiences based on our parents and our heritage that can also play a role. So it doesn't surprise me that something like this could come up at all. And now that your nervous system is regulated, now that you know you're a fucking boss who can handle whatever happens in life, and you have a good mindset around challenges actually being opportunities to grow, and that this is actually a path of your own self-mastery, which is important, and you can regulate your animal brain and nervous system, and you've got all your inner stuff addressed, what can we do externally here? So I want to give you a tool to use here. We may have spoken about this at some point in our coaching. I don't know, but I'll bring it back up. So let's move away from your specific situation. We'll get back there in a second. Let's go to a more mundane situation. Imagine if, I don't know what your dynamic is like at home, who takes out the trash, but let's just imagine that you wanted, it was Lucas's, you were just getting pissed that Lucas never took out the trash. You're like, dude, what the fuck is up with the trash, right? Maybe you don't say that to him, but in your head, you're like, God, this guy never takes out the trash. I'm always the one to do it. It starts smelling, it gets full. Like, doesn't he fucking know I work all day? He's not even, doesn't even have a job right now.
My real life example of that is that Lucas leaves recycling on the counter when the recycling bin is 2 feet away.
Perfect. So
drives me mad.
Perfect. So you can actually test, this is directly applicable to that.
Okay.
So you've probably tried approach number 1 previously, which is like, oh, why do you always leave recycling on the counter? What the fuck? The bin is 2 feet away. Don't you have any consideration? Like, it's so clear. If you were a normal person, you would be blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I've been there.
Okay. We've all been there. Nathan is nodding in agreement. Awesome. So that doesn't work. Maybe it works temporarily, but it's going to cause more harm than good. It doesn't even work temporarily. Got it. So there's a ninja, there's a high level move here that you can do. And the high level move is, instead of reprimanding him for his bad behavior, it's celebrating him for his good behavior. And this is what I call inspiring a vision into reality of how you want someone else to be. So like, you'll hear common wisdom, which is like, you can't change someone else. And that's true, but not exactly. Not always. So imagine this. Scenario number 1, you're an asshole. Why didn't you do the right thing, right? Scenario number 2 is, baby, when you put those bottles in the recycling, you don't understand how attractive you become to me. It's like my entire heart melts, my body just relaxes, and parts of me that I'm not willing to say start oozing. I'm like, oh, here's my king, my God, my hero. I will melt in your arms anytime you put those bins, those bottles in the bin. What do you think might happen if you said something along those lines?
You probably remember to do it more often.
So here's the 3-point fadeaway. And I learned this from my love coach, Annie Lala. 3-point fadeaway. You say it in the moment that he does it. You say it 1 day later, and you say it 1 week later. If he hears that level of positive reinforcement over a thing that was so, it just took him 2 seconds to do, and he's still getting shouted out, big upped, and you're giving him props, a week later, that registers in his nervous system like, okay, I'm doing that. And you continue to celebrate him, and you continue to, I'll give you the more advanced version of this move. This alone will do it, but I'll give you the more advanced version if you want here.
Mm-hmm.
So figure out, you know him, this is your life partner. You probably know what his deepest insecurities are. Don't tell me. You probably know what they are. Think of whatever the opposite of his deepest insecurity is, and tell him he's that when he does the move. So for instance, if his, and this is, I'm totally making this up, if his deepest insecurity is that he's a burden to people, like, oh, I'm such a burden, like, again, this is I don't know if this is, probably not. Some people, they feel like, okay, I'm a burden, and that's a really deep feeling of shame or insecurity. So what's the opposite of a burden? I don't know, like a delightful surprise, maybe. Like that's probably like the opposite of a burden. So I don't have a girlfriend now. If I had a girlfriend or a wife, I would say, and I wanted her to put the bins in the recycling, I would say, and her insecurity was that she felt like a burden. I would say, baby, every time you put those bottles in the bin, you're just like a delightful surprise. Like, it's just like, it just melts my entire heart. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't get enough of you in my life. How did I get so lucky? Come here. I need to shower you with love, my queen.
Jacob, you're going to make an excellent parent.
We're all constantly parenting ourselves.
This is kid magic too, what you're saying right now. I'm sure Nathan would agree. 5-year-old he lives with also.
So I don't know what the move is financially, but you applied this same thing, not just to the bottles, but to the finances. And it's like, when you let me know that you're going to take those $300 out, right? Like, and then you hit him with it. And then again, you remind him the next day. And then again, you remind him the week after, right? And that will enter into his system. That will train him to do this in a way where he feels inspired to, not shamed about it. Not like, oh, my nagging wife is asking me again, like, like, leave me alone. You're not my mom. Like, like that will go away. And it'll be like, oh my God, I can't wait to tell her about that. Right. And I will take some training. I'm not going to say it's going to happen instantly. Apply this though. It will substantially upgrade your experience.
I love that. I love that. And I will try it for sure.
Awesome. And speak from the heart. Like if you really want to speak to someone and have them feel it, like, don't just make it like strategic and tactical. Like, it's important, but communicate from the heart. I fucking love you so much. God, when you do that, it's just like, oh, like, get it from the heart. He'll feel it in the heart. When you come from fear, it just creates fear in his body. He doesn't need more fear in his body. He's already taking a big risk.
Mm-hmm.
Go parent yourself. Take care of the fear. Come back when you're regulated. Give him the love.
I like that. That is so helpful and just what I needed to wade through this right now, I think. Thank you.
You're welcome. I know you got it.
I do. I'm going to write it down right after this conversation so I don't lose it all, but yes.
Awesome. I'll get you a recording of this as well.
Oh, yes. Sweet.
Cool. I think we're there. Anything else?
No, thank you so much.
Awesome. Appreciate you, Yana, and Nathan. Thanks for showing up today and staying with us. Appreciate you as well.
Thank you, Jacob. Thanks for
Thanks, Jacob.
the opportunity. It's well timed. I needed that. Thank you.
Okay. That sounds good. Have a great rest of your day, guys. I'll talk to you guys in the Facebook group.
Sounds good.
Sounds
Bye-bye.
great.
Okay, later.
Bye.
So you made it to the end. I love it. I hope that you took something away from that you're going to use immediately and apply it. And as I said, part of the reason I'm sharing this is I really want people to get how powerful coaching can be and how it can completely change things in the best way. So, if you're watching this before, let's say June 2018, you can still come and apply for Unleashed, which is a 5-month growth accelerating program that I'm running. The problem with most personal development, you'll read a book here, listen to a podcast there, it focuses on information. The work that I do focuses on transformation. You can't get this stuff from a podcast or a book or more data. We don't need more information. And Unleashed is a 5-month transformational experience in which we work on the most core important parts of what it takes to transform into the person who's capable of getting what your heart is asking for and showing up in a way where you feel proud of yourself every single day. You don't feel like you're having to push things away or so much stress, and it just feels like this is the life I'm meant to live. I won't go into the details of that now, but if you found this video through an email of mine, go back to the email and just reply yes, and I'll send you more details about Unleashed. If you're watching this video sometime after May 2018, Unleashed has already started. If you're interested in finding out more information about how you can work with me, I create new opportunities at different times. You can email me directly, jacob@sensiphy.com. It's JACOB@SENSOPHY.com. And just share a little bit about what it is you might like support with, and we can take it from there. If there is something that you really loved and you'd also just want to share what you got from this video with me, you can email me as well, and I'd love to hear from you. All right, lots of love. Peace.